The reason why I hate check calling on rivers is because usually low stakes players, A, they don't bluff enough, so that's the reason to check call on the river, you're inducing a bluff, and they don't value own themselves, right? Enough, meaning like they're not making thin value bets at the end. We're going to do something a little bit different, but I think it's going to be common coming on the show. We're going to be sort of starting a segment for the call-in show, bringing some popular vloggers, poker vloggers onto the show, talking about some of the hands that they've played and some of the hands that they've actually displayed on their vlog. And we actually already had this guy on the show, but now we're going to get him on video here as well. We're going to talk about a hand that I believe that he played at the Golden Nugget. This is Wolfgang Poker, right? Isn't it Wolfgang Poker the name of your channel? Wolfgang
Correct,
Poker?
yeah. Wolfgang's my middle name. That's what we go by here. Hey, Bart, thanks for having me. Glad to be back for a second time.
Yeah, no worries. Now, this particular hand, you know, we did the thing with you and Rampage from like whenever this comes out, last week or a week and a half ago. Was this hand from the same session at the hand that we're going to talk about, which is the 5-3 of clubs?
It was, and since I've played back at Golden Nugget again, but because the action was so good there. But yeah, this was the hand prior to the big one that we discussed like a week ago.
Right, and the one that we had discussed was the whole Jack 10 of clubs hand where the guy 3-bet you with just the ace of clubs on a 4 flush, and he would have got my money. I thought it was interesting.
If you guys haven't seen that one, go leave a card up above. They can click on that one. That one was nice.
Yeah. That was interesting. But, you know, you sent me over a bunch of hands to take a look at that you thought were interesting. I love this setup because I think it goes right into live poker, and I love sort of limped pots. So we'll give a little background here. So the game is like this crazy 1-2 uncapped game, right, at the Golden Nugget, right? And you're 2,100 effective, and in this particular hand, there's a straddle. Is that right?
Yeah, the straddle's on. We're 2,100 effective, and we're in the big blind.
So it's just like 1-2-4. People are straddling under the gun, basically.
1-2-4. Yeah, straddle's pretty common, and no double straddles, but we're sitting really deep for a 1-2 game, so action gets kind of crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 3-5 of clubs in the big blind, and because the action was so nuts, I don't remember exactly how many callers there was. I wrote down there was a bunch of callers. That's what I got. I complete for the $4 and the straddle checks. Not GTO strategy here, completing probably from the big blind with 3-5 of clubs, but, you know, we stuck it in.
Well, just one thing. I mean, in your vlog, so we'll say that there were like 4 limpers in front, right? You're in the big blind, so it's a 3 blind structure, which is more common in a lot of live games now. Whether it's mandatory or whatever, you don't see that many just straight 2 blind games. I feel like, especially where I live in Texas now. So whatever, like 4 people limp in, you're in for 2, right? It's 1, 2, 4. So like you're getting like you're getting some crazy price, right? People have put in 16, 17. You only need to put 2 in for already 17. I mean, I would complete here all day. I mean, the only thing you have to worry about is obviously the straddle, you know, jacking it up. But I think that I would almost complete here with any connecting cards, maybe even 5-3 off. I think that this one hasn't really been simmed. And where I would probably start to fold out might be like, you know, 9 deuce off. Also, like up and down offsuit cards play really, really badly too. Like even like, you know, queen deuce off, something like that, like king deuce off. But it's definitely any 2 suited card. So I wouldn't get on yourself too much.
Well, the thing I was pointing out was like 3-5 of clubs, like, I don't know, I'm getting dominated by any other club draw pretty much. If clubs come out there and money starts piling in this deep, I'm going to get kind of sketched out, you know, thinking maybe 10-9 of clubs, ace-5 of clubs, stuff, or ace-4 of clubs, something like that, you know. But, you know, it's not too bad, I guess, sticking in the $2 here, hoping for a check from the straddle.
There is a sort of school of thought where people don't think about a lot, like in these ultra super deep types of scenarios, which are not common, right? Especially when people play from sort of an online background at 100 or 200 big blinds, where, yeah, you do have sort of the reverse implieds of kind of coolering. That's why you see some reflection of small pairs getting even folded out super deep from up front. So yeah, obviously you got to be careful, right? But we love it. So the straddle checks, right? And now we're going like 5-6 ways.
Yeah, 6 ways to the flop here, 30 in the pot. It comes 3 of hearts, 5 of spades, 9 of hearts. So bottom 2 for us here. Draw heavy board, got the heart draw. We got a lot of straight possibilities. I feel like sets are very common here, although I do block the bottom 2 sets. Pocket 9s probably would have put in a raise from somebody else, so I don't know. I feel like we got a great hand here. 9-5 isn't going to be too common, so I feel like I don't know, we flop really good. I decided to do something interesting here, and I lead out for 30, so I just go out and bet pot. um, and yeah, in the straddle and the middle position player both call, so get some action here.
And everybody else folds.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So this is an interesting one, 9-5-3 with a couple hearts. It's definitely a dynamic board, and there's a couple schools of thought here with this. Is that if anybody definitely is familiar with some of my older material, but I think it still stands the test of time. In limp pots, I like to really attack these boards. It's not 100% the best example, but it's one of the best examples. Like if it had come out like 9-3 rainbow, that's the best example where you can from the blind check raise like draws as light as like Jack 10 with a backdoor on 9-3 or a gut shot or something like that. And the reason being is because people don't want to go broke in a limp pot. There's a very, very good chance that an overcard will come to a 9 by the river and they're just basically looking at their cards. So with that being said, how do you play like a value hand then, right? If you don't, if you think that there's going to be a bunch of fold equity by check raising a light draw, how should you play a value hand? And it's a little bit backwards, but yeah, I tend to say, well, you want to take the line with the least amount of fold equity with a value hand. Now, obviously, your hand is not as strong as, like a set. Like you can get counterfeit, right? Some bad things can happen. I'm a little bit torn, though, because I might have tried to go for a check raise with your hand some of the time, although bottom two is a little bit treacherous. Anytime I'm in these like splashy games, I want to get somebody to put a lot of money. I'm trying to get more money sort of in the pot. With that being said, I'd almost rather do it like on King 5-3, where someone is just going to always bet call a king. Right. If somebody if it gets checked to them and they bet off sevens, they're going to fold. That's the power of check raising this board with a draw. They might just fold a 9 just because it's a limp pot. You'll see some overfolding. So I can get on board with coming out.
I think I led primarily what you said, where 3-5 it just plays. There's a lot of like bad turns and rivers, and also like if you saw the action pre-flop here, like people are playing super passively, so I wasn't too keen on checking. And then I could see some of these players, given their player type, just checking through with a heart draw, not really building a pot and getting any money in there, and just kind of giving people a free card. It was 6 ways, including me though, so I guess someone could have taken a stab. I just thought leading here was a good option here, starting to build a pot, get some folds from other hands that could do some damage to me on future streets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it at all. So you get 2 calls. Looks like the pot's 120, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and the turn comes with 6 of spades, so brings in deuce 4, 7, 8. That's what I said in the vlog. Obviously, the heart draw did not come in. And yeah, we have the initiative here, the betting lead, and I keep putting money in here. I bet $90. Interested to hear what you say about this. Looking back at the hand, reviewing for this call here, I was thinking a check could also make some sense, because the 6 of spades isn't exactly the biggest blank, and maybe just start going for a check call. But what do you think?
No, I definitely would bet.
You like the bet? Okay.
I definitely would bet. I mean, like you said, deuce 4 is not going to be all that represented. Yes, someone could piece off with 7-8, and then you might get unlucky where someone called the flop with 5-6 or like 9-6 suited, but checking, I just think it gets checked through a lot. Even some people start to check like a 9 some of the time. And here's the thing. What's interesting is that, newer school theory, especially on the flop, which is kind of the opposite of the type of approach to the game that I have always sort of endorsed, and I still endorse my approach to the game. Newer school theory would say, like, you're not really supposed to take an in-between value hand and bet fold it. Those are the hands that you're supposed to sort of check. So that's why sometimes you'll see like, certain overpairs on certain boards checked on the flop because you don't want to bet fold them. So you check call. But to be honest with you, like you're never getting really raised here by worse than 5-3, and you're getting called by all kinds of hands. So someone might come out and say, well, if you're going to bet fold 5-3 here, boy, that's exploitable. Maybe it is, but that's basically the best way to win the most money, like in these games. I can't even imagine a hand here. Now, yes, backdoor spades have come in, but you're just going to get called here so often, and right. I would definitely bet. I might go like 100. Bet a little bigger. You went 90.
Yeah.
You went 90. That's fine. One of the tricks that I use sometimes is using oversized chips in these spots. And what I mean by that is I'll bet with $100 chip. I actually want my opponents to see the size of the pot. It's something I truly, really believe in, where when you're making value bets later on, if you use small denomination chips and they get piled like a bunch of $5 chips, these recreational players have no idea what the pot size is. But if they see large chips like hundreds, they can see, oh, this pot's got 300 in it. So if he's betting 200, I'm getting, the pot's 500, 200 for me to call,
Right.
as opposed to like a pile of $1. Or you guys are probably using $1 chips too in that game, right? It's
Yeah,
just
it was nuts.
so no. But I'm totally on board with you here. I would definitely bet if I got raised by like, if it went bet call and somebody raised, it really would depend on the size of their raise. But I would seriously, I don't think that there's an issue really bet folding, to be honest with you. Not if somebody makes it like 180, you know what I mean? But like if they went larger.
Right. Yeah, so I bet 90, and it was pretty immediate. Bang, bang. They both put in the call. So we're still going 3 ways to the river.
So, I mean, there's a front door heart draw out here. This is the other thing, too, is just that, we're going to say what the river comes, but you've got front door hearts, you've got backdoor spades. One of the things I like to look at if a backdoor draw comes in, so if the river's a spade, where you want to look at the distribution of basically what the cards are on the flop. This is obviously true in rainbow boards too. Some people lose a lot of money when there's a rainbow board and they flop a set and somebody makes a backdoor flush. And I'm like, you always got to look at the board distribution on the flop, see if top pair is possible to back into a backdoor flush. Here it is, because it's 9-3-5, so only the 5 of spades. So you've got combinations of straight draws with backdoor spade draws, 9x with backdoor spade draws. You've got the front door flush draw here too. What's really, really interesting about this hand, though, is that I'm a huge proponent of going, as much for value as you possibly can in live no limit. But depending on what the river comes out, it's very, very hard to go for another street of value, because the river's either going to be an overcard or it's going to be some sort of bad card. So I could go 3 streets of value with 5-3 if the board came out king 5-3 9-8, but it's hard here if it's like 9-5-3-6 king. You know what I'm saying? Like, because is a 9 gonna call me for 3 streets?
Right. You gotta.
So it's gonna be.
Out.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So we're 390. Okay, to the river.
390 in the river. The river is kind of what you're alluding to. It's a spade. The jack of spades.
Okay.
So, yeah, the board doesn't pair, but the overcard spade comes in, like you were saying.
Yeah.
I decide not to bet here. I start with a check.
Mm-hmm.
Planning on check calling. I'm assuming one person's going to bet or it's going to get checked through. We'll have good showdown value here. And the action player on my left, so directly to my left, straddle, he picks up where I left off, and he bets 135, so around 1/3 of the pot. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a huge bet, 135.
No, so I'm planning on snapping this off once it gets folded around to me, but that's not what happens. The guy in between, he puts in the call now. Yeah.
So it goes bet and call.
Right.
So it's 135 and call. So it looks like the pot's like 660. It's 135 for you to call. So you're getting like maybe 4 to 5 to 1. But let's talk about the river decision here. So one of the things that I'll always harp on my podcasts and my videos is that at lower stakes, sort of live no limit, I hate check calling the river. I try to say, you have to have a reason to check call. With that being said, I actually like check calling here on this particular river for the reasons that we stated, in the sense that we've got an overcard to top pair here. So I really do think that it's just hard, especially in a multi-way pot, to get called down for 3 streets with just basically 9x. If you do check, you obviously have some front door draws that have missed. Somebody might take a shot at it. Somebody might do something really stupid. The reason why I hate check calling on rivers is because usually low stakes players, they don't bluff enough. So that's the reason to check call on the river. You're inducing a bluff, and they don't value own themselves, right? Enough, meaning like they're not making thin value bets at the end. So ideally, a value own spot would be, I'm going to check call a hand, because if I bet, my opponent might actually fold. But if I check, he's actually value betting a worse hand. And so I get the best of both worlds, because I get the value by him betting where he would have just folded. That doesn't really exist at 1-2. I'm sorry. Especially in a limp pot, you're just not going to really see somebody bet. Like, nobody's going to bet one pair here. Now, once in a great while, as people have become more studious, like maybe somebody might like run into king jack of hearts here and bet, but I still think that's check back a lot. And it's also going to get called too if you bet, right?
That's
so
ambitious.
It's like, yeah, I mean, so I like your play. Here getting, what it is, like 4.5 to 1. I mean, I think, yeah, you have to call. It's tough. Obviously, your multi-way responsibility goes down because it goes bet and call, but I don't know. I think that the guy from up front, I mean, obviously the second guy can't be bluffing, right? Because he called the bet.
Yeah.
But you could easily beat that guy. He might have a 9, the overcaller. He might be holding on with a 9 the whole time. And then this other guy must have busted out. I would definitely call here.
Right. And that is what I did. That's the conclusion I came to. So I put in the call for 135. My left shows 8-9. So, yeah, he had top pair on the flop and just kind of went with it.
The guy that bet the river first had 8-9?
Yeah, the straddler. 8-9.
Wow, that is so, I just tell you, Wolfgang, it's always so interesting because I wonder, I can almost guarantee that if the pot was heads up, meaning that if there wasn't a guy behind him and the action had gone down the same way, that he would have checked behind. But because there's a guy behind him, I wonder if he thinks he's blocking the river, like he's trying to set a price because he doesn't want to call basically a bet. That's another thing I think a lot of people don't understand block bets. I'm not a huge fan of block bets. The only reason to block, first of all, you can never really, a block bet can never be correct at the end unless you can get called by a worse hand. So specifically with 8-9,
let's keep in mind, just for perspective, your viewers probably watched your other 2 videos, one of me, one of Rampage. This is the same guy in the video of me that got there on the river with the Jack 10 of clubs, and the same guy in the Rampage hand that bluffed and Rampage. Remember the guy bluffed, the guy called with queens and he folded kings.
Kings, yeah.
Same dude.
Wow.
This dude's just on fire here.
Well, then it's just clicking buttons then.
Yeah. So he shows 8-9. And the other guy flips over his cards pretty proudly, and he shows Ace Jack.
Ace Jack. Oh, Ace Jack, like no draw or anything.
I forget the suits. Your viewers can look on the screen right now, but I don't remember. But Ace Jack, nonetheless.
But he didn't. I don't think he had a flush draw though, right? He didn't have a flush draw.
I don't believe so. I mean, he was floating with the ace high there.
So you snuck in here with the 5-3 with the overcall with the bottom.
He just wasn't believing anybody. But he called 30 on the flop, and then he called 90 on the turn, with like 2 overcards. I mean, ambitious. Yeah. So we flip over a 5-3, and we take that 800 to the bank right there.
Now, so let me just to conclude here. I don't know how the fuck this guy got there at the end with Ace Jack. We'll check the suits, but
Golden Nugget promo for the Golden Nugget play there.
So what do you think would have happened if the clicking buttons guy in the middle checked the river? So let's say you checked, right? Let's say that other guy checks. What's the guy with Ace Jack gonna do?
The few amount of hands that I've seen him play, because remember this was before like the big hand I played. This was early on in the session. He was betting when checked to a lot. Like he was taking aggressive lines. That being said, I'm not
on the river though, because that's different though. Because river aggression's different.
He arrives in this spot here. He's gonna be betting and maybe just check back, thinking he got there. But I mean, think about it from his perspective. Is he really gonna float 2 streets with Ace Jack and then not bet when he gets around the river? Like, it's not a line that me or you would take with Ace Jack, but like in his perspective, like, is he floating that and then just not gonna go for value when he finally makes his hand? Like, I don't know.
I mean, put it this way, like, obviously it's hard for you and I to be in the spot with Ace Jack, right? Because we would have it be suited and we would have raised pre-flop. But, somehow if I'm arriving on Ace Jack where I'm backing into top pair when I had a front door draw and both people checked me, I certainly would value bet. My contention is that people probably wouldn't. But your hand is a sort of a rarity where I think it fits nicely into a check call on the river. I think you do well in just basically leading out on the flop. And like I said, we don't see a lot of limp pots these days, but it's good to win like sort of a large
I mean, that was a good start to the session. It brought my chip stack up a little higher, and then I gave it all away in that club's hand. But yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time.
All right, Wolfgang. Well, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll have you on here soon again. Check out his vlog over at Wolfgang Poker. And we'll see you guys next time. Hit that like button.
Subscribe to Bart. He's a great guy. Great content. I get a lot of value out of you, Bart.
Oh, cool. Thanks a lot. All right, we'll see you next time, guys.